Okay, today we will be continuing where we left off on Wednesday by looking at adding and subtracting unlike fractions. So that would be fractions that don't have the same denominator. So there's an extra step that you're going to need to do before you add or subtract these types of fractions. Scroll down to the warm-up. And I want you to pause the video here, and I want you to find the least common multiple of each of the following sets of numbers. So go ahead and pause the video, and you can start replaying it once you've completed this warm-up. Okay, now that you're done with the warm-up, let's go over it. So the least common multiple of 7 and 21 is going to be 21. So 7 is a factor of 21. So sometimes your least common multiple is going to be one of the numbers that you're looking for the least common multiple of. For 5 and 14, the least common multiple is going to be 70. One way you might have found that is by multiplying 5 by 14. The least common multiple of 9 and 12 is 36. The least common multiple of 2 and 9 is 18. The least common multiple of 11 and 4 is 44. The least common multiple of 9 and 7 is 63. The least common multiple of 6 and 4 is 12. And the least common multiple of 12 and 5 is 60. Okay, so go ahead and check off how you did. The reason why I had you do this is because in order to find a common denominator, what you're really doing is looking for the least common multiple. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So let's scroll down to our notes and let's talk about what unlike fractions are. To add or subtract fractions with different denominators, you're going to rename the fractions using the least common denominator, add or subtract as you would with like fractions, and if necessary, simplify the sum or the difference. Before you can add two unlike fractions or fractions with different denominators, you're going to rename one or both of the fractions so that they have a common denominator. In some instances, you might not need to rename both fractions. For example, 1/7 plus 4 over 21. The least common multiple, as we looked at in the warm-up, of 7 and 21 is 21. So I would only have to change this fraction so that it had a denominator of 21. Okay, but there will be scenarios where you will have to change both fractions. For example, 1/6 plus 1/4. The least common denominator is 12 there, so you would have to rewrite 1/6 and 1/4. All right. Okay, let's try some. So I want to find 1/2 plus 1/4. I want you to think about what the common denominator would be. So you can pause me if you want, if you need to think about it. If you already know it, go ahead and write it down. The least common denominator here is going to be 4. So that means I only need to change this fraction. The way I'm going to do that is to take 1/2 and I'm going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 2. That gives me a new fraction, but one that is still equivalent to 1/2. So I have 2/4. So I'm changing my problem to 2/4 plus 1/4, which is the exact same problem, just written differently so that I have a common denominator. From Wednesday, we learned that we want to write the numerators together, so 2 plus 1 over 4, and that's going to give me an answer of 3/4. I want you to pause the video here and I want you to try A, B, C, and D on your own. When you're done, unpause the video and watch for the answers. Okay, so 1/6 plus 2/3, I'm going to have a denominator, a least common denominator of 6. So I'm going to leave 1/6. I don't need to change that. 2/3, I'm going to multiply by 2 over 2, and that's going to give me 4/6. This is equivalent to 1 plus 4 over 6, which equals 5 over 6 as my final answer. Let's look at letter B. In letter B, my least common denominator is 10. So I'm going to multiply the numerator and denominator of negative 1/2 by 5. So my new problem is going to be 9/10 plus negative 5/10. Okay, so now I'm going to rewrite this so that my numerators are together. So 9/10, so 9 plus negative 5 over 10. So now I only need to worry about making sure I do 9 plus negative 5. 9 plus negative 5 is positive 4, so I have to think about my integer operations. And my denominator is 10. Now, this is not simplified, so I want to make sure my answer is simplified. My simplified answer would be 2/5. All right. 1/4 plus 3/8. My least common denominator is 8, so I'm going to multiply 1/4 by 2 over 2. That gives me 2/8 plus 3/8. My final answer here will be 5/8. I'm going a little faster now just so you can get the answers and make sure you have them. Then I have negative 1/3 plus negative 1/4. My common denominator here is going to be 12, so that means I need to change both fractions. I'm going to multiply negative 1/3 by 4 over 4 to get a denominator of 12. And I'm going to multiply negative 1/4 by 3 over 3 to get a denominator of 12. So my new problem will be negative 4/3 plus negative 4/12 plus negative 3/12. Okay, I want to rewrite this so that the numerators are together over a single denominator of 12. So negative 4 plus negative 3 over 12. That gives me a final answer of negative 7/12, which cannot be simplified, so that's my final answer. So go ahead and make sure you have the correct answers here with some work shown, all right? So these are the answers that I should have on this page. Now we're going to look at subtracting unlike fractions. So all of those previous problems were addition. Now we're going to review subtraction. So the steps are still going to be the same. We want to first find a common denominator. So for negative 2/3 minus 1/2, I know my denominator will be 6. That's my least common denominator. So I'm just going to rewrite my original problem so that I have a denominator of 6. That means I need to multiply negative 2/3 by 2 over 2 and 1/2 by 3 over 3 to get my denominator to be 6. Remember that whatever I do to the denominator, I need to also do to the numerator so that my fractions stay equivalent. And that only works with multiplication, not with addition. So I have negative 4/6 minus 3/6. Now, I want to write my numerators together over a single denominator. My denominator is 6, but I want to use keep, change, change. So I want to keep negative 4, change subtraction to addition, change 3 to its opposite. So I'm going to have negative 4 plus negative 3 over 6. That equals negative 7/6. Negative 7/6 is not simplified because my numerator can't be bigger than my denominator. That means I have an improper fraction. I want a proper fraction. So this is going to be equal to negative 1 and 1/6. So notice how the negative sign that was in the numerator is now in front of the entire mixed number. That's how you're going to want to write this. You only want one negative sign, okay? And it goes in front of the mixed number. I'd like you to pause the video here, and I'd like you to go through G, H, and I, and then come back to the video when you're done to reveal the steps and the answers. Okay, so 5/8 minus 1/4, our common denominator is 8, which means I need to multiply 1/4 by 2 over 2 to get 5/8 minus 2/8. Okay, so for this one, since 5 is larger than 2, I can use keep, change, but I don't really need to. I can just write my problem as 5 minus 2 over 8. 5 minus 2 is a straightforward subtraction problem. It gives me 3/8 as a final answer. So 5/8 minus 1/4 is equal to 3/8. 3/4 minus 1/3, I need my denominator to be 12. So I'm going to rewrite my problem with a common denominator of 12. That means I need to multiply the first fraction by 3 over 3 and the second fraction by 4 over 4. That's going to give me 9/12 minus 4/12. Okay, so I'm going to write 9 minus 4 over 12. Again, I don't really need to use keep, change here because 4 is smaller than 9. So I'm taking away a smaller number from a larger number, which is straightforward subtraction, like we've learned previously. If I did use keep, change, I'd just be changing it to 9 plus negative 4 over 12, which would give me the same answer. My answer here is going to be 5/12. And my last problem, I am going to want to use keep, change. So my denominator is going to be 10. I'm going to multiply my first fraction by 5, my second fraction by 2, to get 5/10 minus negative 4/10. Okay, so in my next step, I'm going to want to write my problem so that I have one denominator, but I'm going to want to use keep, change. When I use keep, change, I'm going to keep 5. I'm going to change subtraction to addition and change negative 4 to its opposite, which is positive 4. So I have 5 plus 4 over 10. That gives me 9/10 as a final answer. So go ahead and make sure you have 3/8, 5/12, and 9/10 as your answers for these, all right? The last example we are going to look at is one where we need to decide which operation we're using. So this question says to use the table to find the fraction of the total population that has type A or type B blood. So let's look at the table. Everyone has a different blood type. The blood types that are possible are type O, type A, type B, and type AB. And within each of those, you can have like either A positive, A negative. I'm a, what am I? I think I'm O negative, which is one of the more common ones. It's the most rare to have AB blood. So what it's asking me to do is figure out the fraction of the total population that has type A or type B blood. That means I want to add type A and type B together. And that will tell me the percentage or the fraction of the total population that has either one of those blood types. So let's look at type A and type B. That's this column and this column. Notice that they don't have common denominators, so you need to think about what the common denominator will be. In this case, the common denominator is going to be 50. I don't need to change 21 over 50. That already has the correct denominator. But I am going to change 1/10 by multiplying by 5 over 5 to get a denominator of 50. So that means I have 5 over 50. I'm going to add those two fractions together. To do that, I'll do 21 plus 5 over 50. So I go from 21 over 50 plus 5 over 50 to 21 plus 5 over 50 to my final answer, or not almost my final answer, of 26 over 50. But this can be simplified. Notice how both numbers are even. If both numbers are even, they can definitely both be divided by 2. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to divide by 2. And I get 13/25. That's my final answer. That can't be simplified. So I am going to write a full sentence for my answer. I'm going to write 13/25 of the total population has type A or type B blood. Okay, so we're gonna stop there. At this point, you have examples for how to add and subtract fractions that don't have the same denominators. I'm going to have you actually skip this section so you can cross this out or delete the page, because I want you to do the attached independent practice. So I posted a second attachment, and that is going to be your classwork for today. So once you have completed the classwork attachment, you can attach that directly to this note. You're going to submit both of these to Google Classroom. Okay?